Hey everybody, and welcome to another edition of Saturday on Lonis Lane. If you haven't watched last night's episode, we do preview the Oklahoma versus Alabama on Friday night's game with the playoffs. We also give our picks of who we think is going to win that game. But let me introduce everybody. I'm Taylor, this is Cody, and Tyler is with us in spirit tonight, just like he was last night. So, but that's okay. But if you haven't already, go ahead and watch last night's episode where we preview Alabama-Oklahoma. Tonight, we're going to give you another college football playoff game, and that is Texas A&M and Miami. Miami has to travel to Texas A&M. Now, before we get too involved in this, we've talked about it a little bit last Monday with Notre Dame kind of getting snubbed out in Miami. For Miami, I think it was the right decision, but Miami has since we've talked about it, has came out and said, Notre Dame has came out since we've talked about it and said that they don't want anything to do with any playoff games. Mm-hmm. Cody, what are your thoughts on that?
I think, there are multiple teams who are doing this, but and the other teams play in a conference and are getting fined. Notre Dame has no repercussions at all because they don't play in a conference. It's just setting a bad precedent on the sport itself. It's giving them a bad look, I think it kind of gives you the quitter's mentality of I don't get my way, I'm just going to quit. Yeah. And if I'm a parent of a recruit, and that's what I see, even if I don't think we got treated fairly, I don't want to teach my kid. I don't want my kid to learn, hey, I just go quit when things get tough.
Yeah.
When things don't go your way, quit. Which is kind of what we're already doing anyways with the transfer portal. But then again, I think the transfer portal has its purpose because they can go somewhere else and play. And even some of the third and fourth on the depth chart, down the depth chart a little bit, I think they have a purpose of being able to go somewhere else and play. I mean, you got to think, most of the Heisman's, the last three at least that I know of, were transfers. And if I'm not mistaken, if I remember the stat right, last 7 of the 8 Heisman's have been a transfer. So you can go somewhere else and succeed. So the more I kind of watch this transfer portal, I think there should be a little more restrictions on it. But the more I see it, I think it works. But beside the point, I think you give that quitter's mentality with not playing a bowl game, and then I'm sure you've heard, and we may even talk. You're going to talk about this, but starting next season, if Notre Dame's in the top 12,
they get an
automatic bid because they're not in a conference.
Which isn't fair because we've sat here and we've talked about how we don't even believe in automatic bids. You sit here and you look at James Madison in Oregon, who we'll talk about tomorrow night or Thursday night. It's a 21.5-point favorite. Who wants to watch a playoff game?
Playoffs.
Where it's going to be that way, and you just don't want to. So I think Notre Dame is mad at the wrong people. I think they should be mad at Alabama. It's these Tulanes and James Madisons that are getting in with automatic bids just because they won their conference, which isn't as hard to do in those leagues as it is in a Big 12 or even in the ACC. Mm-hmm. Because I guarantee you, if James Madison or Tulane play Miami or Notre Dame or even Texas or Vandy, the spread I don't think is going to be too much different. Mm-hmm. So it is tough, and you're right. It does give you that quitter's mentality. We were raised growing up. Cody tried to quit the wrestling team one time, and Mom made him go back because once you start, you got to finish the season, and that's the same way that we raise our kids.
Yep.
So, I don't like it. I don't think that it's a good look for Notre Dame. Cody, I've also seen that Notre Dame has ruffled some feathers in the ACC, and that the ACC is considering pulling all their teams from playing Notre Dame.
Yeah, and I think that hurts in the long run, the ACC, but because you got to think Notre Dame plays all their other sports within the ACC.
Yes.
So I don't know. I don't know if they end up doing that or not. I know they're allowing teams to back out of their games. So,
which is tough.
yeah.
But anyways, let's get away from that game because the head-to-head, which I think they got it correct, Miami has to go to A&M, and A&M, the last we saw them, they got beat by Texas, and now Texas ended this season a lot differently than the way they started it. Mm-hmm. You have Manning, who looked a lot better, a rushing game that actually was moving the ball, offensive line that kind of got things figured out. Mm-hmm. But can Miami do what Notre Dame wasn't able to do against Texas A&M, which is win? But there's a difference. They're at Kyle's Field. They're at the 12th man.
12th man. It's a tough place to play.
It's a 12 o'clock game on a Saturday, but it's going to be loud. Mm-hmm. They'll be there late that night with, what do they call that?
Yell practice.
And they'll have the stadium rocking at midnight. And just to be back there in 12 hours to have it shaking again. It is a tough place to play. And I even thought about bringing Joey in to talk about this game. Joey, good buddy of ours, and he's a Miami fan. He's from Florida. And I remember talking to him right after the committee talked about it, and it was it was almost like a relief that they were able to get in. Like I said, I think it's well deserving. But A&M is sitting here; they're 11-1, only lost to Texas, barely missing the SEC championship game due to the strength of schedule versus team played. But as you said, I mean, it's really a good thing. Mm-hmm. Right? They didn't get the bye the first round, so you've got 3 weeks off. Miami has gotten 3 weeks off. Miami's got a Carson Beck that is hot. When he's hot, he's a great quarterback. But when he's not, if he's not on his game, he throws the first pick. You almost guarantee there's another one coming behind it at some point in the game.
Or three more. It's definitely possible. And we saw a lot of Carson Beck in the last couple of years playing there at Georgia. I think he is a really good quarterback. I think there are times where he gets careless with the ball, and when he makes one mistake, he doesn't. He lets it bother him, I feel like, and it compounds to many more.
Almost like he's trying to make up for that mistake.
Yep.
And so he starts pushing the ball downfield in places that he doesn't need to.
Yeah, and a lot of that comes back on coaching and not allowing him to do that too quick.
He did the same thing at Georgia,
I
too.
know. Well,
and I don't think we'd argue about Georgia's coaching staff.
A lot of them would argue about the offense coordinator. So, once again. But, and I think his strength is going to be the passing game, obviously, and their team's strength would be the passing game as long as Carson can throw the well. I don't know how much Texas A&M is going to give him a bunch of different looks. I'm not sure what that'll look like and try to confuse him. And I think he is you can confuse him pretty easy. So it just depends on what they do. They're extremely solid up front, but they're inconsistent on the back end and can get beat on some big plays.
So let's look at Beck and Reed side by side because their stats are very similar. Carson Beck has thrown for 3,072 yards, while Reed is sitting at 2,932 yards. Mm-hmm. Interesting. They both have 25 touchdowns. Both have 10 interceptions. Very, very similar quarterbacks. The rushing game is not too far off either. Rushing, their leading rusher for Miami is Fletcher. He has rushed for 685 yards, while Owens, the second at Texas A&M, has rushed for 618 yards. So, very similar style teams on offensive production. Mm-hmm. I would argue that even though Miami does have a little bit more of an edge in the passing and rushing game. In production, they haven't played in the SEC.
No, that's true.
They've played an ACC schedule, which is one of the weaker ones in the ACC outside of Notre Dame. Your two losses come from Louisville and SMU. So, it will be interesting. Right now, the game sits at 3 points
In favor of?
in favor of A&M. I think that has a lot to do with them being at home.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I agree with you.
I don't think that this is going to be a hard game for A&M to get up for, because we did see them against South Carolina where they took the first half off and had the biggest comeback in the second half in almost college football history. It was unbelievable. It was either South Carolina forgot how to play football, or they went in halftime. A&M went in halftime at the locker room at halftime, and the real starters put on the actual pads because it was not the same team.
Mm-mm.
So, Cody, what are some keys for success? Looking at Miami, I don't know why I wanted to call them Notre Dame. Looking at Miami, what are the keys to success for them beating A&M here?
Just taking care of the football. I honestly think if Carson doesn't throw, if he might can get away with one pick, but because their defense is pretty stout. But if he can keep the ball to his team, I'll give him one pick. But if he throws 2 picks, it's over. They'll lose.
Well, and A&M's defense has been very, what would you call it, snobby with the ball. They're really good about going and getting it. They'll knock it out. They will cause a pick. And they've got a Cassius Howell, who is sitting there. He's got 11.5 sacks on the season. Very, very good defensive end. Very, very talented, and has a nose for the quarterback. One of the best in the SEC. I know we talked about it with Coty while he was here, but this has been my pick of the week a couple of times this year, and his stats are really, really good. So that would be another problem that Carson Beck does have. I think you got to look at defense on both sides of the coin here, because I don't think it's going to be offense. Both offenses can put it up. If you just look at the last several games for Miami, you've got 38-7 win, 34-17, 41-7, 38-10. If you go to Texas A&M, after you had the loss to Texas, but you have 40-0. You have 31-30. That's that South Carolina game. 38-17. They beat LSU 49-25. These offenses can put the points up.
Mm-hmm.
Which defense do you trust most to get a stop?
I think Miami's defense. Strength of schedules I think are pretty close on these. Honestly, I think Miami's probably got the upper hand on the strength of schedule. If I'm not mistaken, I could be wrong. But you said it. Texas A&M strength of schedule is toward the bottom of the SEC.
They are, yes.
So they hadn't really played a ton. But then you got Miami. I know they hadn't played a ton of teams, but they've got one or two more.
Their last game against Pitt, they were the most complete team I've seen them all year.
Yep.
Even when taking the win versus Notre Dame at the beginning of the season, I think the win against Pitt was their all-around best complete team game I've seen them play all year.
Yep.
So, Cody, with all that being said, let's throw the stats out of the water. You have Miami at A&M, Cowles Field in Texas. Is that Loving, Texas? No, College Station. I'm sorry. Loving, Texas is Texas Tech, ain't it?
Sure is.
Yep. Hey, I'm beating the punch. This is the next round of playoffs. We'll go. But anywho, Who do you think is going to win this game, Miami or A&M?
I'm going to go with all I've said, thinking Miami defense is probably a little bit better. The strength schedule is a little stronger. If Carson Beck holds on to the football without giving it up twice, I really think Miami could win. But I don't think they can do that, and I think Texas A&M is going to win this game.
I know you have a lot of people who want to see Miami win this game.
Mm-hmm.
They want to see them beat Ohio State. They want to see them versus Georgia in the semifinals.
Mm-hmm.
It would be interesting. Carson Beck, Georgia Bulldogs. But I don't see it happening.
Mm-hmm.
I think you have Marcus Reed, who has been a really good dual threat quarterback, and I think for most of this season, even though their stats are very similar, Reed has been the hotter hand,
mm-hmm.
and I think he's done a very good job. I think the defensive line, the defensive front at A&M, will be unlike anything that Carson Beck has seen this year. They're going to give him fits. He's not going to feel comfortable in the pocket, and that's exactly what they want to do. So I've got Texas A&M to win this as well. Cody, is there anything you want to add to that?
No, I think you're right. I think Texas A&M's offense and KC's Concepcion, if I said that correctly, I'm pretty sure, I'm almost 100% leading receiver, is going to be ready to go and take advantage of the opportunities that he'll get. He's also, I think, the return man, and he's pretty special when he gets the ball in his hand with a little bit of space.
With 57 receptions, he's got 886 yards and 9 touchdowns.
He's pretty special.
So, yards after completion is really good.
Mm-hmm.
So, well, guys, that's all the time we've got for tonight. Thank you so much. I hope you've had a wonderful Tuesday. If you haven't already, there's a subscribe button down below. We are almost at 60 subscribers. We're at 59. Help us hit 60, and like Buzz Lightyear, to infinity and beyond. Right? We'd love to see those subscribers go up. We'd love to see you give us a like. We'd also want you to give us a comment. We love interacting with you guys who are watching us, and so leave us a comment, give us a like, hit that subscribe button. And as always, it is Saturday on Lotus Lane. Y'all have a great day.